Senator Tillis is wise in terms of his ability to anticipate questions. I did want to talk a little bit about some of the force posture. And Admiral Harris, in your testimony, you talked about the tyranny of distance and the importance of forward station forces at high levels of readiness. It can rapidly respond to a crisis in terms of a full range of military options. And the President, when he announced the rebalance, which I think has broad support here on this committee, bipartisan support, he talked about no force reduction in the Asia-Pacific theater. Despite that, as you may be aware, and we talked about a little bit yesterday, the Army has decided to essentially get rid of the only airborne brigade combat team in the Asia-Pacific, the 425. Also, the only Arctic trained, only mountain trained. They're certainly a brigade combat team that brings a lot of onlys to the fight. And although it's an Army decision, it certainly impacts the two of you. I know, General Scaparrotti, you view the 425 as an important strategic reserve that can get to Korea within 7 hours. We have a huge strategic lift capability coupled with the 425. And Admiral Harris, you actually own those forces in terms of operational command. General Milley, to his credit, has said he was going to take a look at this decision. He's actually put the decision on hold. I was up in Alaska with him. He was on a fact-finding mission just a couple days ago. If he were to reverse that decision, would you support his decision to do that if you were? Both of you?
Yes, sir, I would. It brings a very specific set of capabilities to the theater, as you just stated. I would just say that General Milley, as you know, with the downsizing of our force, has got to make a decision to take that someplace. And with that comment, I would just say I think my personal opinion is that we need to reconsider the downsizing of the Army at this point, given the challenges that we have around the globe. We've got a mismatch between the requirements and our strategy and the force that we have today.
I couldn't agree more with you on that, General. And you know, General Milley, again, to his credit, is looking hard at the tooth-to-tail ratio and wanting to cut, if he has to cut anybody, the infantry, armor, tooth element of our forces. But I think your broader point on not drawing down to 450 is a really good one. Admiral Harris, do you have any thoughts on that?
Sure, Senator. I'll be the first to say it's much more fun to be an insatiable COCOM than it is to be a service chief. So I don't envy the position that General Milley or Admiral Richardson or any other service chiefs are in, as they have to make these difficult decisions. But I would say that our nation has an insatiable desire for security, and rightfully so. And so I welcome General Milley's decision to reconsider the reduction of the 425 and that great capacity that's resident in Alaska. You know, these are follow-on surge forces that without them, I don't know where we'd be if we had a major fight on the Korean Peninsula.
Thank you for that. And I was just out at Fort Polk at the JRTC. The 425 is actually doing their month-long training out there. And to watch close to 1,000 airborne soldiers drop out of the sky in the middle of the night on a force entry military exercise shows you what an awesome instrument of American power this unit is. And I certainly think it's a strategic mistake for the country to be getting rid of them. Let me ask one final question, just switching gears here. In CSIS, in their report, I know both of you have reviewed it, recommended that we should consider offering an explicit guarantee to the Philippines that the United States will respond under the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty to an attack on the Philippine military in the disputed waters or territory. I think, to the President's credit, he did this with regard to one of the islands, with regard to our treaty obligations to Japan recently. Should this option be considered, and what do you think the effect of such a declaration would be? And what do you think the effect of the President's previous statement vis-a-vis Japan and our treaty obligations to Japan on one of the islands? What do you think the impact of that was?
Yeah, so trying to decide which question to answer first. I'll start backwards then. So I think that the Secretary of Defense and the President's declaration, unequivocal declaration that the Senkaku Islands fall under the protections afforded by the Mutual Security Treaty with Japan had a positive effect on the situation in the East China Sea. And I responded to a question earlier about the CSIS's recommendation about the Philippines.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I was, sorry,
No,
Ms.
no. And so, and I believe that our obligations to the Philippines under that treaty, which is different than, every treaty is different, it's clear, and I understand my obligations. I think we should consider it for sure. We should consider clarifying our position on the Philippine Marines that are on the Second Thomas Shoal. But we have maintained as a nation that the Second Thomas Shoal, that territorial maritime dispute there, the maritime dispute, we don't take a position on that. And so, we're going to have to study this and get into it. But I think it clearly should be considered.
And why do you think, your first statement about the President's statement, you said you thought it was positive. Why? Why do you think it was positive? What did it do?
It sent a clear signal to China that we would protect the Senkakus, or defend the Senkakus just as we would defend Tokyo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.